Hello, Namaste. This is Neeraj here once again, and welcome back to my channel, 𝐤𝐫𝐢𝐜𝐴 Stock Analyst. So, in today's video, I want to discuss regarding oil prices. Like in last video, we discussed about the outlook of metals. So, what is the outlook of crude oil or energy prices in short, generally oil and gas? So, let's start with if you know, last time also when I told you that for commodities, generally China is the biggest, the factor. So, because more than 50% of the world metals, basically production as well as consumption, it depends on China, because China is the biggest. Now in oil, it's little different situation, but still China becomes the kingmaker. In which way? So first of all, let us just understand about the background of demand and supply, right, for anything. So if you roughly take about what is the demand supply scenario of the crude oil, as you will see that around 20 million barrels per day consumption is of USA. Then around 14 to 15 million barrels per day of oil consumption equivalent is by China. Around 11 to 12 million barrels per day is by European Union, EU, and around 4.5 to 5 million barrels per day of oil equivalent consumption is by India. So there is a very interesting anecdote I will tell you, very interesting statistics which I don't think so where you may have found anywhere in YouTube or anywhere in the world. This is my own research. Is that you take the GDP of a country, and roughly that GDP will translate into the million barrels per day. So in $1 trillion you take GDP. So US's GDP is roughly around 21 trillion dollar, right? And its oil consumption or crude oil, means crude oil is not only oil, but we call it crude oil equivalent of energy consumption, means gas and everything related to the fossil fuel. It's equivalent to 20 million barrels per day. Now look at China's GDP. It's 15 trillion dollar, roughly, approximately we are talking about. And its oil consumption is around 14 to 15 million barrels per day. 15 million barrels per day. Look at EU GDP, European Union. We are talking about European Union. So that is roughly around 12 trillion dollars. And what is the GDP? Its GDP is around 12 trillion dollars, and oil is also equivalent to around 11 to 12 million barrels per day. What is India's GDP? They talk about that it has reached 5 trillion, right? Before it was 4 trillion dollar. That time the consumption was around 4 million barrels per day. Now it has reached 5 trillion dollars in last year only, that India's GDP reached 5 trillion dollar. So it is around 5 million barrels per day. So if you look at this out of all the countries, now look at what is the demand scenario. Whether USA is more or less self-sufficient in the crude oil because they have their own production of this shale oil and all this crude oil. Now look at China. China is mostly dependent on the import because they don't have much source of that. So look at China's growth. How's the China? Because China is the biggest, you can say, that demand driver of oil. So that is where also I believe that, as I told you in that last video about metals, that China's growth is not going to happen. Whatever, they may try. The government is trying to stimulus, but as of now for this year also, I don't see that China's demand is going to be great. In fact, so that way that oil consumption is not going to be very great. European Union is in doldrums. It is in very bad shape. So that also forget about that growth of European Union, and that's why the demand of oil is not going to be there. And what is that? Only driver will be India, because India is really growing at say 6.5%, whatever. Last year it's around 7%. Now this year expected to be around 6.5% of GDP. So that way, if the demand of oil, but that will not be so much that whatever the existing production of oil is there, it is more than sufficient to. And apart from that, more supplies is coming, even though this OPEC plus have gone for the production cut. But also there is a problem in this Red Sea because of Israel and Gaza, that conflict, and where there is, that Red Sea is kind of blocked by Houthis, and all this oil disruption has happened, supply. But still there are already, because USA is trying to manipulate the situation, because that USA election is there by this end of this year, and that is where Democrats will make sure that that nothing much disruption happens from the existing. So that's why they have opened up Venezuela supply also. They have removed sanction from the Venezuelan oil. And then Guyana is another oil producing country which new has opened up. And even I believe that even Russia's oil they have started purchasing, USA. And that is why they are trying to silently manage. So this way, I believe that you will not see much rally in unless and until suddenly some, what do you call black swan kind of event, which is once in a decade or once in a 100 years kind of event happens, and which totally massively destroys, say, Iran or something else, and everybody gets into the conflict. Then only you can say that oil prices may rally. But as I explained to you, that oil prices are not going to rally this year. So all this petroleum or the petro products, petrochemical, all the prices which are derived from the oil prices, energy, gas. So these are the companies I would not be very positive about those oil and gas and energy and petrochemical companies, refinery companies for this year. So my suggestion is this is my view. So you please, I am asking you, what is your, because I would like to, this is my view, but I would like to hear from you also. You please comment, write your comment that what is your view about the oil prices, where it can reach in this year. What is the general opinion? I mean, what is your opinion? Please, it will be very great if you can write to me. And I just wanted to share this, that I am not positive on the oil prices and the oil energy stocks in this year. That's it from my side. And if you want to have a private professional consultancy, you can visit my website www.stockmarket.com, or you can write to me. My email details are in the description down below. And also I have a Telegram channel also is there. You can join that. And till the next time, if we find something, another unique idea, I will come with you. That is ciao from Neeraj from Moscow.